Story 1. About 10 years ago, I was a teenager who had just graduated from high school. My boyfriend and I were young and naive. Across the street from his apartment, there was a shopping center with a few empty stores and a busy office max. One of the empty stores used to be a hardware store, so it was really big and had been vacant for a long time. One day, my boyfriend wanted to explore the abandoned hardware store. I didn't want to join him and tried to convince him not to go. Unfortunately, he had two friends who were also interested in exploring the store. That evening, after Office Max closed and the parking lot was empty, the three of them walked over with a crowbar and a video camera. I got to see what happened because they recorded it. They were joking around and acting silly on the way there, doing teenage stuff. When they finally reached one of the doors, they tried to pry it open. After struggling for a while, they finally managed to open it, but an alarm started blaring. They quickly ran away and escaped without being noticed. That's where the story originally ended. Months later, my boyfriend started working at Office Max due to some unfortunate events. One day, while he was walking around with a coworker, he pointed to a door and asked where it led. It turned out that the door was a back entrance to the parking lot that was always locked and never used. The coworker mentioned that someone had recently tried to break in and trigger the alarm, which required the general manager GM to come to the store immediately to file a police report. The GM had to stay there for several hours that evening and even had to come back to open the store the next morning. In short, my boyfriend had unknowingly annoyed his future manager 6 months before they even met. TL Dr. Boyfriend managed to thoroughly piss off his manager 6 months before he even met him. Story 2. About 10 years ago, I discovered what it's like to have a bipolar wife. I became depressed that autumn, but I didn't understand why. I had a successful career, was taking care of my wife and our 2 young children on my own, so I thought I had everything under control. But my depression was overwhelming. I'd find myself crying at a stoplight, unable to remember where I was or what I was doing. I talked to my doctor, and he helped me literally save my life. Then, the following spring, I realized why I was so depressed. My wife was cheating on me. One evening after work, I went to use the computer and saw that my wife had left her work email open. At first, everything seemed normal, but then I noticed some strange things. That's when I decided to pay closer attention to the computer history and other online activities. What I found shocked me. My wife had been logging into a suspicious Gmail account and a Hotmail account with a strange name. Now, this person is outwardly sweet as pie. Think of her as a BBW church lady who was very pretty, volunteers at the kids' church and school, and all that mom jazz. This didn't make any sense to me, so I'll eventually keylogged my own PC. I was shocked to discover that my wife had been using Craigslist to secretly meet up with strange men, often at odd hours. She would tell me she was volunteering at church, but in reality she was meeting these men. Even more disturbing, she had taken our kids to meet up with an old boyfriend from high school at a park. I tried to address this with her through counseling, but she refused to acknowledge her actions. She claimed that someone was forcing her to do these things. But when I asked her in front of our counselor if she was being raped, she couldn't respond. She just froze. She was pretty horrible in bed, but told one guy, a married guy from out of town, that he can do anything to her. Nice. For me, she's a starfish and every other guy in town, a play toy. Great. But wait, there's more. A lot more. So the next counselor visit a few days later, I say I want a divorce. Now she asks why. Why? Then when we walk out of the office, she shoves me in the parking lot. Okay, distraught. Fine. I go to ask if she's okay, and she slaps me. Wow. Anyway, we'll fast forward. I make arrangements. I line up the lawyer. We have lots of long talks about how stuff should work out. She's playing nice. I leave the house I've been paying for and close the door as my kids are crying for me. That shit sucks. 6 months later, I thought I had moved on with my life and found a better relationship with a new girlfriend. She was younger, kind, and had a beautiful personality. But little did I know, my ex-wife would again cause chaos in my life. She began harassing me nonstop and even targeted my new girlfriend with cruel messages, sarcastic cards, and unwanted magazine subscriptions. She would address my girlfriend as a homewrecker and send her nasty gifts. It was like dealing with a person who had lost all grip on reality. I'll eventually log enough texts and emails to at least get it slowed down with a restraining order. She threatened to bash my head in with a bat. Apparently that was enough to get the judge to waive the fees. Boo what? Then she starts in again harassing me about the restraining order. Wait, hang with me here. A year into my new life with my new girlfriend, I woke up one morning to start my day like usual, filling out paperwork in the bathroom. But something felt off. My chest felt tight and achy, so I stopped what I was doing and took notice. At first, it was just discomfort, but it quickly got worse. The pain intensified, and soon it hurt really bad. I knew something was seriously wrong. So I'm sitting there on the toilet with this sudden panic at 6 a.m. What do I'll do? We live 30 miles out of town. Who do I'll call? Am I going to get in trouble for having a blockage in an artery? WTE. I'm only 42. I eventually settle down to these realizations and slowly get up. When I walk by the mirror, I see my face. It's gray. Oh. I walked out to the bedroom and gently woke up my girlfriend, who is now my second wife. I asked her to get dressed and start the car, as it was snowy and cold outside. She asked what was wrong, and I told her I was experiencing chest pain. I know it might not have been the best decision, but I didn't call 911 because our emergency services are all volunteer-based, and it would have taken at least half an hour for someone to arrive. So we drove to the hospital together. When we arrived, I was in a lot of pain, but otherwise, I was doing okay. It took a while for them to figure it out. They gave me more and more morphine, but it didn't help much. They quickly took me away. Eventually, they gave me an MRL, and that's when it got interesting. I was sitting near the triage desk when a nurse rushed by and said, "He's occluded. That's the only reason he's still here." I knew what that meant, and it wasn't good. I work in the medical device industry, so I understood the severity of my situation. Next thing I knew, I was being loaded into an ambulance to be taken to another hospital. I insisted that my girlfriend come with me, but I was unable to move. I held my chest the entire time, and the EMT was very quiet. When we arrived, a team of about a dozen surgeons and nurses greeted us. My girlfriend was confused and upset, but a kind nurse tried to comfort her by rubbing her back. The surgeon explained my situation to me, and I could see the worry in my girlfriend's tears. I have an aortic dissection. Shit. I give her what I think is our last kiss. It was, and still is, the best one ever. Apparently I survived. 5 hours of surgery and all that DOT-induced coma for a day, and when I come to, I can hear her and the nurse talking, but I can't move. She's holding my hand, and I can eventually move a bit to where I start drawing on her hand to let her know I'm there. Okay, so back to batshit crazy XX. My ex-wife was frantically trying to contact me by calling my workplace, my former boss, and all the hospitals in the area. But my brother stepped in and helped protect me from her harassment. He set up a family password with the hospital staff to keep her from getting information about me. During my long recovery, he acted as a mediator, bringing my kids to visit me and keeping me updated on my email. He tried to shield me from her toxic behavior, but it was too much for him to handle. He only lasted a few weeks before he had to stop. When I asked him what happened, he just shook his head and said, "She's crazy." I asked him what she had been saying, but he just couldn't repeat it. It turned out that my ex-wife thought my health scare would somehow make me realize I needed to be with her again. It's been a long time since then, but she still tries to hurt me whenever she can. In fact, she even attacked me physically once while we were exchanging the kids in a parking lot. She drew blood right in front of our children. I had to run around the car, yelling for help, hoping someone in the nearby restaurant would witness what was happening. The sheriff told me I had grounds to press charges, but I knew that would mean involving the local police and potentially traumatizing our kids even more. I couldn't put them through that. There are more stories, but that's the most surreal and disturbing experience I've had with my ex-wife. That's the end of this chapter of my life.